Good afternoon, folks, and welcome back to my channel. I apologize, I've been a little busy trying to get some stuff caught up, and you'll understand why here in a second. But yeah, glad to be back, and we'll run through a couple of things here real quick, just a couple of quick updates, and then I'll kind of show you what we've got planned for the channel. I think you're really going to like this. I know I will. First of all, I've had a couple of questions about the W108, how that's going, and what our plans are for that. Nothing really. Courtney loves that car, and the steering is fixed. The brakes are fixed. We've been driving it around a little bit and enjoying it, and of course there's still a few minor things that need to be done to it, but for the most part, going through the brakes, the steering, fuel system, everything's good. But I'll show you kind of a quick update on that right here. So here we are in the W108. Done a lot of work to this car. Brakes, steering. Obviously, I talked about the fuel system prior. The car drives beautifully. It is an absolute pleasure to drive. Just wanted to give you this quick update and let you know how this is going. The steering gearbox was really wore out, and had a pretty severe leak, and in addition, the steering coupler, the bushings were completely gone in that, and show you a little video clip of that here.
We're in our own house. We'll have our own private pool. What? Yeah, girl, we rent Airbnb and the whole house. Oh no, we ain't got any room in the truck.
So, replaced the bushings in that. I actually bought a steering coupler. It ended up being the wrong one. So I just went ahead and rebuilt this one, put new Mercedes brand bushings in it, and everything's good to go. You can see the steering is really, really tight now. And I still need to replace the steering stabilizer and the idle arm bushings, but it's really, really tight even without doing that. You can see the steering wheel is a little bit off, and but that's not a huge deal. I'm gonna go back through and I'll pop that steering gearbox back off, and I'll just go ahead and turn it a little bit to straighten that out. But this is just like I said, a quick update on the W108 in case any of you were wondering. The car is terrific. Absolutely love it. Courtney loves it. She really enjoys driving it. So that's everything with the W108. So as you can see, I mean, there's still a few things that I've got to do to it. I'm gonna pull that steering gearbox back a little bit and get that wheel straight and put it back on. But it's no big deal right now. The turn signals are still canceling just fine, and it's just kind of a minor annoyance that it's off a little bit. So I was just kind of guessing when I reinstalled that, so it's pretty close considering. But what I really wanted to talk about is something that we're going to be doing with this channel, kind of another little project, if you will, and I'll kind of give you a glimpse of what that is right here. All right, so here we are at the storage unit. I'm going to show you what we have in here. There it is. Folks, this is a 1985 300D. So I've been kind of keeping an eye on W123s for a long time. Finally found one, and I've got to stop by here to drop off the factory wheels that came off this 124. Just switched to the 8 holes. And while we're here, this thing's been sitting. I sent off for historic tags and personalized historic tags on this, and in Missouri that can take some time, especially with the way things are going with COVID and whatnot. So this thing's actually been sitting here for about a month. How about that? Been sitting for about a month. Now, it is shaking. It is shaking a little bit at idle. There are a couple of things that I know that I'll need to do to it. You can see it's shaking a little bit at idle here. It's not firing on all 5 cylinders. When you wick the throttle a little bit, it tends to smooth out, but definitely some attention needs to go into this. And I'll give it its due attention, starting with a valve adjustment. You can see there. Now, it has been sitting for a while, and I was actually pretty impressed with how quickly it started. Part of the reason why I went ahead and bought this car. It was cheap, and you get what you pay for. But this is a 300D turbo, 1985, so it's got the highest gear ratio in the rear end, most highway friendly rear end. Which is kind of what I wanted. So it'll give us a good platform to work on. And even though I know it probably hasn't had a valve adjustment for a long time, we'll need to check on the injector. So this is kind of going to be our new project here, as we're kind of wrapping up the 108. The 124 here really doesn't need anything. So this will kind of be our new project. We're going to see if we can get this engine to smooth out, get it to quit smoking at idle there. And we're going to start with a valve adjustment first thing. So, follow along. Okay, so you've heard me talk for a while about the 123 versus the 124, and I looked at so many 123s, and most of them were in that kind of condition where it's just tons and tons of issues, needs a lot of work, but it has, as they say, good bones. And by that, I mean, it seems to have a fairly healthy engine. It does have a little bit of a shake and a little smoke at idle and stuff like that, but it starts with authority quickly and it shuts off quickly. So those two things tell me that there has to be, some pretty good compression. Maybe it does have one cylinder that's a little low on compression. I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe we can get in there and we can look at the injectors. We can look at the valve adjustment. Maybe we'll find something that says, hey, this is why it's shaking a little bit at idle, and this is why it's smoking a little bit at idle. I don't know yet. But I will find out, and you'll find out with me if you follow along. I think that should be a lot of fun. 123 has kind of been one of my bucket list cars for a while. It's just hard to find one that hasn't been completely abused, rusted. The biggest thing for me is rust, a healthy engine, and a rust-free body, and I can kind of work with the rest. So hopefully this is a healthy engine. We'll find out. It doesn't leak anything, which is amazing. It has at least 250,000 miles on it. You never know with these cars. Could be 300,000. A lot of times these cars, the odometer stops working and it doesn't work for 10 years and then somebody fixes it. So you just never know. But mileage is just a number with these cars. I mean, these are forever cars, so I'm not too worried about the number on the odometer. I'm more worried about the functionality of systems. And this is a car that has cold air conditioning. It does run good, even though the idle is a little rough at first startup. When it warms up, the car does smooth out, so that's a plus. We'll kind of address any of the needs that it has, and it has plenty, don't get me wrong, but it was cheap enough. It's hard to find a 123 in the Midwest that's rust free, and I found that one in Springfield, Missouri for $2,000. So I had been watching it for a while on Marketplace, and it was listed for $4,500. And one morning I woke up and I had a notification that, the marketplace item that I viewed is now, $2,500 less. And I looked, it was that car for $2,000. So I actually left work that day. I left work and I drove down to get it, grabbed a trailer and went down there and trailered it back. So $2,000 seems like a really good deal, but I have a feeling I'm going to get in there and I'm going to find out that this is going to be a car that I end up with much, much more in, just to get it the way I want it. But then I'll get to enjoy the experience, and I know I'll have a bunch of new parts, and I'll know the car inside and out, hopefully, as long as something's not catastrophic. If something's catastrophic, transmission, engine, something like that, I really don't have the room to be doing a big project like that. So as long as the engine, transmission's healthy, the car's rust free, I can do just about anything else, and I will. But my plans for that car eventually. So my stepson's 15. He's going to take over this 124 here next spring because he's turning 16. But he's been on his permit. He's been driving it a lot, and I'm going to need a daily driver. I do have a pickup, but I don't like to mile it up. It's I bought it new, so I don't want a ton of miles on it, and it's not the greatest on gas either. So just to kind of have a car to enjoy, to drive back and forth to work and whatever. That's my plan for that 123, is to have it up and going and reliable and dependable by the time I turn this over to the stepson. So we'll see what happens with that, but I'm pretty excited about it, and hopefully you are too. If you haven't subscribed, you're interested in W123s, we should have a lot of videos on that car coming up, so feel free to follow along, and I'll take you with me every step of the way. But until then, have a good day.